I am so excited to have a incredible speaker here with me today. When I heard her speak, something awakened in me and alivened in me where I could feel my feminine power really anchor in. So Geeta, it is just so wonderful to have you here with me today. Just going to introduce you real quick. Geeta Sidhu-Robb is the CEO and founder of Nosh Detox. She helps women not only lose weight, but step into their highest potential. She's a health and wellness coach. And I understand, Geeta, you were a lawyer and you left the practice because you really wanted to help women. It's so great to have you here.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, yeah. And so specifically, I want to say what you said that really caught my attention and is the whole reason why I asked you to be part of the Goddess Summit, by the way.
Right.
So you were talking about how your opinion of yourself is what matters more than anyone else's opinion. And that just really anchored me into myself because I have been so worried about what other people think. Being a mom, being a coach, just really worrying too much about what people think, and really what we think of ourselves is what matters most. So that really landed for me. Thank you so much. You're such a goddess.
No, it's thank you. But it is really women are brought up with a huge amount of training in external validation being a primary source of self-reflection so that they see themselves as others see them. So we're brought up to be approved of, you know, and it's a really long journey to go from external validation to internal validation only. And I'm a fan, it sounds a bit brutal, but I'm a fan of saying, your opinion of me is really none of my business. It's my opinion of me that is the only thing that matters.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
true. I mean, I'm getting ready to turn 50 years old, and it's like, what do I think of me? That
Yeah.
is what matters.
But
And
that's one of
you,
the freedom of aging, right?
yeah, yeah. But the way you said it, you're just like, no one else matters. I
Yeah.
matter. And like
Yeah.
how you really put yourself forward in such a beautifully aligned and empowered way. It was incredible. So thank you. Thank you for embodying empowerment.
Thank you. And it's very important to me. I think women don't enjoy power enough and we don't love it enough because usually we only see masculine manifestations of power. And you think, I don't want to be like that. If that's power, ew, not me. And I have always thought that being powerful was the most important thing that you could do. And I've been a single parent to my three children my entire adult life from my 20s. And I had to learn to be powerful for myself because it was the opposite of everything I knew and the opposite of how I was brought up and the opposite of every single piece of upbringing that I had and every woman almost has. And so for me, it became a journey to not only understand and how to be powerful, but also the flip side of that was that the more powerful I became, the more feminine I became and the more authentically feminine I became. Because when you look for external approval, you have to manipulate your femininity in order to achieve it on many, many, many levels. Right? You kind of have to, because it's how we look and how we sound and smile and all that stuff. And it turns out that when you actually step into the power that is the divine feminine, the power that is you as your aligned feminine, you become very feminine for you. And it's a completely different femininity because my femininity is very personal now and it isn't there to make someone else happy. If I want to interact or flirt with you and then you like how I look, that's a very different thing. But that's a very specific small slice of my daily life, if that.
I love that so much. I am falling in love with my own power.
Yeah.
And so, through the process and journey of me really stepping fully into my power and not being afraid of it like I used to be,
Yeah,
And then hearing your words and meeting you, it was just like the perfect alignment for me to just drop in and embody
good.
the power within me. And so that is why we're here right now. And it's just so wonderful to have you here. You're such a powerhouse. I love that you've been a single mom, a lawyer, and now you're this wellness coach for some of the most incredible, powerful women all around the world. And just really rocking your own personal power and your personal journey. So, how wonderful to have you here. I'm so excited about this conversation.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah. So, my first question is, who is the goddess to you? What does the goddess mean? And what does the awakening of the goddess mean for you?
I think that, for me, that's something that's is very internal. Again, it's very feminine, it's very internal. I look and I see and I think about different goddesses if I'm thinking like that. But for me, I honestly believe that it's something that is inside every single one of us. When you come into the source, the kind of the Shakti, the alignment of your inner feminine, then what you're doing is awakening the goddess within you. And I think that when you do that, you're personifying God on earth. And that should almost always be what we're taught from birth, that that's who we're meant to go for and that's who we're meant to be. Because imagine if we brought up a world of just young girls and young women and older women constantly seeing themselves as manifested goddesses. I think it would 100% change how we lived, wouldn't it?
Wouldn't it? Oh, I love that answer. Isn't that
Yeah.
true? Wow. I am just imagining that right now. What a
And
different world we would be living in.
it would, because you would naturally be powerful. You wouldn't have to talk about it or think about it. You would naturally be feminine because the source of your power would be feminine. You would recognize that. And we have such a wrong image around femininity, of it being weak and it being emotional. And it's just the wrong image, basically, because femininity is creation. Femininity is power. It's strength. So if we were all of those things, then, and we felt them every single day, we would show up in very humble, but very, very strong, powerful ways. And we would know what we wanted, and we would know how to ask for what we wanted. And those are two things I think that we're not very good at as women.
It's true. Isn't that true? And that is a direct correlation to how we're brought up and the
100%.
idea of feminine power in our society. What a
Yeah.
great answer. Oh, wow. And what is what has been your awakening journey with the goddess?
There were actually two very distinct versions of this for me. The first version was that when I walked out on the children's father, and it was a very abusive relationship, and we walked out, and because we ended, for every reason in the world, we ended up homeless, from this extremely, we had built this huge company together, and I couldn't bear to stay there anymore. So I walked out and I'm like, send me my half, which of course he didn't do. And we ended up without any money at all. And I remember at that stage with three small children under the age of 7 standing on the street, holding nappies in one hand and a baby, and the other baby's holding my trousers, and my other baby's holding that baby. And you're literally standing on the street thinking, shit, where do I go? Um, and I remember just dealing with the fallout of that, and everybody going back, you should go back. I mean, I can't imagine you left all that money. And I was like, I didn't intend to leave the money, to be fair, half of it was mine. But there was such a pressure to go back, or a pressure to get remarried, or a pressure to, tie up the bow and make it look good. And I remember that was my first step, where I put a flag in the ground and I said, never again. This is never happening to me again. I will do whatever I need to find out how to not be in this place. Now, I don't want to judge other people that have done that. I'm a huge fan of you getting to where you want to go, how you want to go there. For me, the choices were that I wasn't going to do those things. And it was very helpful, because I drew a line in the sand and I was like, never again. So that was, can you hear my cat? He's wailing.
Yeah.
A second time this happened to me. So I went on a journey to learn how to be my most spiritual version. And it turned out my most spiritual version was my most powerful version. And so that was just a beautiful learning, along the way. But being smacked upside the head by the universe all the time, because it was like, go do this. And I'm like, I don't want to do that. I want to do this. And it would be like, off you go, that direction. And it was, I basically claimed the spirit just bullied me, but we're good. And then the second time that happened to me is actually April last year, because, I've spent 15 years working with over 21,000 women. And I've helped them to learn how to love their bodies, how to understand why they don't lose weight post in perimenopause, understand how to, what their power is, how to implement that power, personify all these things over 21 years. And I heard this story. And as you're saying, I have coached some of the most famous women in the world and some of the men, but really some of the most household names, global celebrities. And their lives are like ours, just with more pressure and probably more money and more visibility, but very similar. A woman is a woman is a woman. And I was like, so I coach women to grow their businesses and do IPOs. And we went from 3 million to 50 million. So I did all that amazing work. And then I heard this story. And this man, he's our own Harvey Weinstein. We made him. We're not proud of him, but we did make him in Britain. And he was incredibly wealthy. And every time somebody tried to sue him for sexual assault, he'd get a little slap on the wrist and get sent off and be told, don't do that again. They couldn't make anything stick. So 5 women got together. I think it's 5. They finally got him to a place where they were suing him for sexual assault. And now they're really making this stick. And I remember reading the court filings in April last year. You know how you remember when something happened?
Yeah.
And I was reading this, and my coaching business is doubling in growth every 3 months. And I was like, thank God, I finally have money. I finally don't have to pay the kids' school fees. I was a pig in heaven. I was so happy. Everything was wonderful. And I spoke too soon. And I read this story, and it said, the court filings said that when he was leaving the top floor, the receptionists on the top floor would ring the receptionists on the ground floor, and all the women would have to go and find themselves behind a locked door so that they wouldn't be assaulted.
Oh my God.
And there was a part of me that just, my heart broke there and then. And I was just like, my life was never going to be the same after hearing that. Because as women, we know what that tells us about these women, right? It tells us they're stuck. It tells us they need the work. It tells us they have nowhere to go. There was nobody that they can find to help them, except trying to get this bugger into court, and he kept getting away with it. And so that changed me again. And I was like, okay, so it's not enough teaching women how to be strong at the leadership level. We have to find a way to protect women way, way younger and way, way down the pay scale. And then that led to what I've added in a business now where we certify W Core, where we certify businesses to be safe and supportive environments for women to succeed in.
Wow.
And so we started that on the 2nd of January. And when we spoke, I said I had just been at the UN, and we launched that at the UN 2 weeks ago. And that, I think that is the next kind of manifestation of it, where you can stand on the ground and go, I won't move from here, and I'll be here for every woman that needs this. I'll stand and do this. So
that's incredible. That's incredible. So not only are you an empowered goddess, but you're an activist. I love it.
raging activist with polka dots. Yes. that would be me.
Oh, I love it. The more and more I get to know you, the more and more I love you. Oh, I love the work you're doing on the planet. So needed, so needed. So my next question, oh gosh, it's amazing. It's got me all fired up and excited. Good
I want
for
all
you.
women in the world. I think our first year in W Corporation is going to be a land grab. And the more women that can come on board, get certified, the more of a movement we're going to create out of it. And it'll force the men to then pay attention.
Exactly.
Yeah.
We're doing it. We're rising to the
100%.
It's time. And so that was my next question is, what is the importance of the goddess awakening? If you could elaborate a little bit more.
I think the thing that I struggled with the most is that I think that we all have natural skills and whatever they are. And I really struggled with the fact that my natural skill was being able to be seen and heard in such a way that I was always in a room where I could speak truth to power. And I didn't even know what that expression meant, because I would be in a room with a prime minister or a president, and I'd be totally saying whatever the heck I wanted to say. So it didn't occur to me it had a phrase. I was just like, so I would just like to say, and there'd be 25 white men there. And they're the most famous people in the world, and they're running things. There's a prime minister, and there's this, and I'm like, so I just would like to talk about this, and no one's ever done that before to these people, exactly. And it used to constantly annoy me, and I was like, why do I have to be the one at the front? Why do I get the attack? Well, you know what it's like being a woman at the front. It's painful. You get abuse, you get ridicule. I've had stories made up of me. I've trended for doing shit I've never done. I have videos made about, all this stuff, and it's horrendous. It's a very painful place to be. And I'm like, why do I have to do this? I want to be over here making my coaching money, helping women. Somebody just and I always say these things because money is very important for us as women, because it's actually the economic freedom really matters. Because I've been very rich and I've been very poor, and I infinitely prefer very rich. So, there I was happily doing it. The universe was like, no, I don't think so, babe. Head in that direction. I'm like, I don't wanna. I want to be over there this way. And I was like, oh, damn it. And so for me, what the awakening is that when you think, okay, I give up, I surrender. Here's the thing I'm good at. How do I use that to change everything that I can touch and change so that it never goes back to where it was? And I think we each have that moment. I think we all have things we're really good at that we dismiss or don't like or don't enjoy. And yet that thing is our specific blessing. It's not necessarily a blessing to us, but it's definitely a blessing we're bringing with us. So I say this a lot when I'm coaching, that at the end of every finger, we have a fingerprint. And there is why do we have a fingerprint? Why would you say that?
So that we can leave our imprint in everything we touch.
Right. And so what that means is, and it isn't like God just decided, oh, you know what? I'm bored. Let me create several billion unique fingerprints. But what if every fingerprint is a pattern of energy that you bring to earth, and that this energy is behind this vault, and the way that you unlock this energy so that the world can have it and the earth can use it and take the advantage and the benefit of your birth is by you being able to touch it with your fingerprint, and that unlocks, like these Egyptian vaults where they all unlocked, right? What if your fingerprint unlocked that vault and lets out all this energy? But wobbly keys don't unlock any door. So your primary goal is to become the strongest, most powerful, aligned version of you, so that when you do put your fingerprint on that vault, you are the key that can unlock it.
Oh, I love that.
That's your
makes
awakening. And if that's your awakening, and I just kind of had to accept that that was my awakening, and that here we are.
Oh, I love that.
It doesn't stop me whining a lot. I'm whining in spirit the whole time, going, man, yeah. But here we are.
It's so true. That's been my experience as well. Sometimes we just want to stay in the cocoon, where it's safe.
I'm like, I'm so happy. I have paid my dues. I brought these children up. I have spent this money. I have been an activist my whole life. Give me a break. I just want to buy a Chanel handbag and stroke it gently all night. Turned out that was not what was going to happen. That's like, okay, then.
Absolutely. 100%. Oh, I love that. Oh, thank you so much. That was beautiful. The awakening. Yeah, it can be sometimes quite uncomfortable.
Oh, seriously. Honestly.
Yeah. Oh, beautiful. And so for me, I personally associate the awakening with our connection to Mother Earth as well. Do you make the same connection with the awakening of the goddess being an awakening to connecting with Mother Gaia, Mother Earth? And what is your feelings about the importance of of
Yeah,
that.
I think staying grounded is vital at every single step of the way, because the connection between, kind of God and earth, you are that connection between the two. And so the more grounded you stay, the more relevant you are, because I always feel that when you get on this pathway, really what you're doing is, I have this strong sense where I put both feet on the ground and then stood up to be seen. So I think it's very that, but also the bigger strategic version of this is that unless women become 50% of the world in truth and in reality on every level, we are doing Mother Earth a disservice. We do need to be 50% of the workplace. We do need to be 50% of the leadership. We need to be 50% of the voices. We need to be 50% of the power. There is no balance. The reason the earth is out of balance is because we are not in a place where we know what we want and we don't know how to ask for those things. And it is our job, like if you look at, like when I went to work as a lawyer, there were 50% women, 50% men entering a law firm. Statistics show us within 5 years, nearly a third of those women have left the workplace. We're not leaving work and hating our bodies and hating how we look because we're not doing that because it's entertaining. We're doing that because we're at our wits' end and we don't know where to go, because this stuff affects our mental health, it affects our physical health. So we withdraw and we let men run these things. And some of those people are not good people. And the imbalance shows in what we're doing to the earth. So if we step up and take our rightful places, there is a reason 50% of the world is female and 50% of the world is male. We can change within 5 years where the earth is headed and where it's going. I don't know if that's quite the slant that you had, but but I think that all that comes from just constantly being grounded, constantly.
I love that. And being an empowered goddess and an activist, you would have to be very grounded in your body.
Yes, it's really funny because I can handle a lot of emotional discomfort. I cannot handle any physical discomfort. And so the universe, because it has such a great sense of humor, as we've established, I'm a health expert, so I'm incredibly healthy and all va-va-voom and energy and this and this. I used to do CrossFit 4 times a week and, all that. And 2020, where are we now? 2022, I got long COVID. And I was sick 6 times across the year. And every time I would get sick, I would do a week in bed. I took a week to recover. Then my brain took another week to start functioning. And then I had about 7 weeks and it would happen to me again. And literally the universe went, if you don't slow down, if you don't stop, if you don't learn what you can and can't do, what your job is and isn't, you will never achieve what you want to achieve. So I was a very unhappy woman about that. I was like, nothing worked. I put on 15 pounds. And that doesn't sound like a lot, but when you don't fit a single item of clothing in your wardrobe, you want to kill yourself. It's a horrible sensation, right? It's so debilitating emotionally. And it's taken me to that whole year and then the whole of last year and about until now to get to the place where I'm physically well again. So it's been if you're not connected, if you're not physically strong, if you're not in touch with your body, if you don't love who you are, there's no awakening in the truest sense of the word, I think.
Yeah, I love that. And it almost feels like to me, this was your level up. Are you walking your walk? Are you talking your talk? You're doing this, you're working with these women. Like it feels like an initiation into your next level. Right. Because I'm a firm believer when we get sick, it's an initiation to go deeper.
100%. 100%.
Yeah.
I was like, I will lie back here with my Chanel. I was told, no, you will not. You will not do that. I was like, damn.
Yeah, sometimes that's what it takes. That's been my
Yeah.
story. We have a very similar some of the, the persecution and the reluctance to step forward being made to.
Yeah, which I think is
Right.
quite funny because I do think that we can take spirituality in a very grave kind of way. For me, it has a lovely frivolity around it. because I'm like, the work that we do is so deep and it's so profound and it's so intense that there needs to be a counterbalance of frivolity somewhere. And, you know, being able to whine at the universe is a high point in my life, depending on where we are. That and vodka, I think.
Love it. And so, what is your take on the balance of the feminine and the masculine energy within us all and how that pertains to the awakening of the goddess?
It's such an interesting question because I always led with my masculine, always, because that's what I did. And I led with my masculine and I was doing. And it was like, what do you mean being? And I remember somebody once saying to me, do you love yourself? And I'm like, is that a trick question? Because I couldn't work out how to work out if I loved myself in the first beginning of my spiritual journey. And I remember doing an NLP exercise. And she was like, you have to visualize your heart opening and loving yourself. And I was like, well, I obviously don't know how to do that. And I had to put one of my daughters in the image, feel my heart open with love for her and put my face quickly over it. So I could think of myself, you know, and just not being able to understand what any of that meant because it wasn't real, you know, that loving myself, being who I wanted to be, understanding any of those things. Oh, now I've forgotten your question because I got sidetracked. What was the actual question?
Oh, I love it. This is great. Just the feminine and masculine
That's it.
balance. Yeah.
So then when I got sick, the feminine took over. And the feminine's like, I got this. You stay there. I have totally got this. And I found it's so interesting. Like my right and my left sides functioned, they still do. They function 100% differently. And I'm at the stage now where I'm remelding them back because my feminine doesn't trust my masculine to not take over. And my masculine's not sure who to be in this yin and yang. And I think we're constantly having to rebalance it. In how we function. But I would find that my hair would go differently on my right versus my left. My nails would grow differently. Every part of me, because the energetic versions of me, and even today, they'll get into balance, but they were so completely out of balance that they're slowly feeling their way back in. And I think that you have to have the balance. But obviously for us, and for everyone, I think the feminine is the being version, and then the masculine is the implementation of that being, you know, so you do need both of them. But you can always tell when women, like, for example, perimenopause, when you're out of balance, perimenopause is very difficult. It is a really uncomfortable place to be when your masculine is constantly leading. So it's the one biggest bonus that we get given, even though we want to hate ourselves lives during that process, where we're forced to put ourselves first. And it's nature's way of forcing us to understand what we need. Because in perimenopause is the time where we start to look at our bodies and our feminine and give it the power it needs. Otherwise, it goes on for longer. We don't know how to cope with it.
Yeah, exactly. Beautiful. I love that. I love the balance of the two. Yeah. I always say it's important to be a human being instead of a human doer. But after speaking to you today, I'm thinking, well, actually, both are very important and valid, right? There are
Because if
times to
you're
be a
not a
human
doer,
doer.
if you're not a doing person, you're sitting around with great ideas and achieving nothing. And if you're a doing person, you're not downloading the kind of stuff that brings what you're doing to a whole new level, right?
Yeah. Yep. So both are valid. The human being, the human
And
doer,
that's
the
why we're born
masculine.
like that. And
Mm-hmm.
that's why the world needs to reflect that, because women need to step up and be in a place where they're heard and seen and spoken to and spoken about and spoken with, because the world also needs yin and yang.
Mm-hmm. Beautiful. Well said. So, if there is something that you could share that would help humanity, what would it be?
If I could answer that in two parts, being a lawyer, my first part would be that I think that every single woman that we can get to a stage of feeling incredibly internally powerful and loving herself as a powerful woman, that would take us leap years forward. And the gift that I have is a way of learning how to develop an inner power piece. So I think that that's something that is really, really important. But on a global, then we take that onto a global level. If we can make the world feel, the workplace, which is the primary place we spend our lives, feel like a safe place for us to be in, succeed in, and to enjoy, then that's kind of the other part. I think it's the individual, and then it's the collective.
Beautiful. Yeah, I agree. 100%. Wow. That's been my experience. Stepping into my power has been so important on every level.
But it's
And
life-changing for you.
it's life changing. And it's so good for my boys. I've got a 16 and 13-year-old. And for them to see me in my power is empowering for them. It gives them a beautiful understanding of the feminine spirit and how it is embodied and brought into the world. So I love that. I agree with you 100%.
But think of it also, that's so well said, because there you're, the more powerful you are, the more powerful you're giving your boys permission to be.
Yes.
Because, you know, you're not fragile or breakable or, you know, any of those things.
True. Yeah. Love it. I love that. So Geeta, I was wondering if you could do a little demo of your superpowers and your gifts, and
So no pressure.
no pressure. Yeah, and just a little, little bit of coaching around, losing weight and what you do. And I will be your personal coaching experiment here live for everyone to see. Um, and I'll just begin by saying that, for me, I was teaching 10 yoga classes a week and looked great. I had been in my ideal weight, my ideal fitness. I was rocking it. And this is just 4 years ago.
Yeah.
And then my family and I moved to Sweden, and the pandemic hit. And I went into kind of a freeze mode. I went into a cocoon. I stopped teaching yoga. I stopped doing yoga. And I started eating pizza and hamburgers and like pasta and all the things that I've never allowed myself to have. I just blobbed out and went into a comfort zone. I put on about 20 pounds, which is a lot for me. And I just feel so not myself. I'm used to being strong and powerful and, like a cat climbing up on the roof and, doing athletic things. And now I'm just, kind of like, oh, not myself.
Heavy.
Yeah. Yeah. And so I think it's very interesting that you and I have met and connected as well. So, I am open to what you have to say.
Okay, so are your ankles crossed? Can you uncross your ankles?
Yeah.
And keep them uncrossed, because it's more helpful when you're absorbing new information.
Okay.
When let's do a little bit of understanding first. When you say you froze, it was the most accurate thing you've ever said, because the one category that we created in weight gain was a thing called stress fat. And the number of people that will tell you, usually men, usually young, that will tell you that doesn't exist. And the number of women that will tell you, I have weight that I cannot diet away, I cannot exercise away, I cannot eat away, I cannot do anything with, and it just stays. And the majority of that fat tends to be around your belly and your upper thighs. And it creates a deep internal emotional heaviness, right? So it's a very particular kind of fat. And what happens is it tends to come from your early to late 40s. And so it's because it's fat that is created by you going into freezing, because a part of your body goes into panic mode. Now, when that happens to your system, what's actually happening, fear and flight, when that's actually happening, what's going on is that your cortisol levels have now taken over from your adrenaline, and they've become the primary mover in your body. Now, what happens is when cortisol takes over, it is known as the ambulance of your body. It takes over all your pathways. and it decides and has priority. So what that is like I live near a high street, right? Now, in a normal life, cars would come by, people are walking down the street, and there's shops. When cortisol takes over, it's the equivalent of having an ambulance run up and down that street 24/7, constantly, constantly, constantly. After a while, the cars stop coming there because there's nowhere for them to drive because there's ambulances. After a while, the people stop coming because the noise of the ambulances is too loud. And after a while, the shops close because there's no people coming. So there's no need for a shop. So what was before a functioning superhighway becomes a dead zone for processing cortisol. This is what happens to your hormone system when you freeze. Yeah. So your body decides it's running from the dinosaur, it's in the ambulance, and it's on its way going. Three things are affected when that happens to you. Number one, you don't sleep well. Because when you sleep, the sleep of the dead and the sleep of the rejuvenation, you have to give up. But you can't give up when you're worried because of the fear and flight and because of the cortisol. So you never sleep properly. You're almost sleeping kind of with that one eye open. So you're waking up unrested. Okay.
That's really interesting. That's so interesting because I've always been a really good sleeper, and I have not slept well since the pandemic hit. That's so interesting.
Here's another symptom. Your second symptom is that your fertility and your fertility functions start to stop working, because there is literally no point in you getting pregnant, because if you get pregnant, you can't run.
Wow. I had been trying to get pregnant and I could not get pregnant. That's so true.
You can't get pregnant. Well, think about it. Your body's like, oh, well, the primary function is to run. Why would you get pregnant? Because that will stop you being able to. People don't get pregnant in war zones. They just don't, because the body doesn't need it. It conserves that energy because it's an intelligent sentient being. The third thing that happens when you are in this cortisol takeover mode is that your body stops doing normal digestive functions. So your normal digestion is a little bit like sitting in Paris with your glass of wine, and it takes 3 hours to break down your food, and it's chill. And it's that the minute you're in this fear and flight, run from danger zone, your body starts going, pull out glycogen, use it to run, and then 4 hours later crave carbs like you're going to die if you don't eat them.
Wow, that's amazing, because I've never craved carbs, and it was all about the carbs and sugar, cinnamon rolls, croissants.
Never wanted those before. Honestly, you've never eaten them before. Ask me.
No,
you suddenly develop a sweet tooth. So you can have 1, 2, or 3 of those symptoms. So why I'm saying this to you is that I need you to emotional weight loss is very important. Physical weight loss no longer works in this scenario. So you can't diet it, you can't work it off, you can't do any of those things. You've got to understand where it's coming from. And what's happened is that you're having, and then the other side effects, your hair becomes brittle, your skin becomes dry, your nails stop growing. There's all kinds of other side effects that come off the back of this, and you get someone you don't, brain fog, all that rubbish starts to come from it, right? And they're also very similar to perimenopausal symptoms. And the reason they're similar is because your body is just like, well, we're going to perimenopause because we're not going to get pregnant. So, hey, that's our function. So women these days, when I started Nosh in 2007, women would go into perimenopause in their 50s. Then they started doing it in their 45, then 40. Now I have girls I have this big perimenopause community on TikTok. There are girls there from 32 to 34. Wow. Going into perimenopause, which is, brutal. This is why IVF is happening younger and younger. Like my daughters, I'm like, by the time you hit 26, we are freezing eggs. They're like, Mama, you're a weirdo. I'm like, absolutely. 26, you're going to freeze those eggs because we're not having this shit happen ever again. So when you understand that you're not mad, you're not a dilettante and eats weirdly because there's nothing wrong with you, babe. This just happened to you.
Yeah.
And your body doesn't feel safe.
Well, we had just moved to Sweden. So it's one thing to move your whole family to another country, but then to also have a global pandemic hit. And then we couldn't go back to New Zealand because they closed off the borders. And so
yes,
I thought the world was ending. I just went into a complete panic.
Well, there you go. And at that stage, your body internalized all that fear, and your mind didn't feel safe, so your body didn't feel safe. And you've got to find a way to understand that that's finished.
Yeah. Yeah.
So how do we understand that that's finished? We start actually by stop torturing ourselves. Don't do violent exercise. Don't do intense cardio. Don't run for 45 minutes because you think it's fun or some crap like that. Just think of yourself as being a little bit fragile and do things. So for me, when I came out of COVID, and it was a very similar process, I can tell you the methodology to apply. And the methodology is start small, start regular, start frequently, and then build up. So for example, start with mobility and stretching, and stop all the things that you ever knew about what you were and how your body worked. You've got to make your body feel safe. So do yoga, do it regularly, do it calmly. Do not do mad Ashtanga Vinyasa, the quiet, calm Hatha yoga. Just start doing that till your body starts to calm down. Eat 3 times a day. Eat 3 times a day. Now, if you're gonna eat your cinnamon roll, blah, 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 I don't care. Trade it with, we have a free course for this somewhere, which I can actually, I'll tell you about that. I'll tell you about that in 1 second, because I have all these resources. So add a green plate of fresh raw salad to every single meal. Add olive oil, salt, pepper. Add it to every meal. If you don't want to eat green leaves in the morning, blend them. And add a piece of fruit to every single meal. So what you'll do is you'll start with a piece of fruit before every meal, and then you'll have a green plate of greens with every single meal. Now, the thing is to understand that nature hides vitamins and minerals in the colors of the food. So shift the colors. So for example, next door in my kitchen, I have 6 different colors of fruit and 6 different salad leaves. So I just repeat them because I don't have to think about it. So I'll do red in the morning, orange at lunchtime, yellow in the evening. The next day I'll do purple, I'll do whatever and whatever, right? So you do your colors, and then I'll do spinach, I'll do lettuce, cucumber. If you wanted a plate of cucumbers, if you wanted to, that's fine. A plate of tomatoes. I don't really care. Like now I've moved to mixed salads because but it'll still be a big plate. Now, if you added those 2 things in and then ate your meal after that and did it at every single meal without fail, and then stopped exercising and went to walking and a form of stretching. You've got to stretch so your fascia get pulled and can release some of the emotions that are trapped from the cortisol in your system. You know, like how animals shake when they've been stressed? Have you ever seen that? Like when I take my cats to the vet and their lives are going to end. So they shake to get rid of the adrenaline.
Yeah.
We don't have that. So what we do is we trap it inside, and then we put fat around it to protect ourselves. So you want to stretch the fascia. So you want to do gentle, gentle movements, stretch the fascia, gentle, gentle movements. I did yoga I started at 10 minutes to every 2 days or every 3 days. Eventually, about 6 months in, I got to doing 1 hour of yoga 4 times a week. Now I'm back.
So interesting what you're saying, because when I do the yoga, I cry and I have a lot of emotional release. And so then I get frustrated and then I don't do it because I don't want to have to go through that. But it is actually the very thing I need.
Yeah. And also be kind to yourself, because if you were a yoga teacher and you now do yoga, like I was a frigging health expert, CrossFit, whatever. And then I went back, I hated myself for a very long time. And because we're, as women, trained to hate our bodies because they're always for someone else's purpose. Do you like how I look? Do you like what I'm doing? Do you like what I look, wearing? And actually you have to really teach yourself that this is where I am today. Tomorrow, I'll see where I am, but here's where I am today. So those things will all, I'm sorry, this wasn't the coaching session you were expecting, but
I love it. I love it.
It's so useful. Yeah. This is 100 times more useful because it gives you the overview of it, and then it gives you the understanding of what to do. And then you
Mm,
have the skill sets to add the rest of it in. Keep the fruit, keep the salad, eat whatever you want after that, and then do the movement. And also, get really, really good vitamins and minerals and eat them every day because you're just deficient.
beautiful.
You're just
Yeah.
deficient, you know?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you've kind of got a muscle fatigue and you're storing your toxins and you're storing your pain because we women we externalize approval and internalize pain.
Mm, I love that. It's an emotional detox diet.
100%, 100%. We have I don't know if you can cut this out if I can't say it, but we have a community we set up on wcom.world, WCOMM.world, because for me, it's the womanist movement, right? So the womanist movement has wcorporation.org, which is the B2B, which is certifying businesses to make them safe, supportive places for women to succeed. And then we've got WCOM, which is the community of women. And in
Mm,
there, we've added all our resources like the raw detoxes, and we've added all these things in there. And it's $1 a month to
wow.
join. And it's just $1 a month. And there's no hidden anything. It's just $1 a month. And we started to build that out the 2nd of January as well. So all the resources are in there, more get added on. And that's where I would go because that's all the knowledge I have, all the information all goes in there.
Great.
And
I'll put a link below this video.
thank
Yeah,
you. It's the
definitely.
most effective way to get access to that information.
Oh, wonderful. Oh, thank you, Geeta. That really landed for me. I was open to receive whatever wisdom wanted to come through you. So it really landed for me. You're
Yeah.
spot on. Yeah. You're a master at what you do.
But
Thank you
you're a
so
very
much.
high functioning woman, right? And very intelligent women are my jam. I love them. Difficult as hell, stubborn as hell, but also highly effective. Kind of ask me how I know. But so you're that type. You're a driven type A person that has a very strong spiritual connection and is here to do good. But what you're doing is making a price you have to pay to do good. And that's what you have to stop because nobody needs you to pay a price. That's why I bitch with the universe every day and we laugh and I'm frivolous and we joke and I push back. My spirituality is not a sanitized thing. My spirituality is a push and a pull scenario. You want me to do what? I don't want to do that. I want to do this. And then it's a conversation. It is not a given that my surrender is 100% absolute and needs to be there. Otherwise, I'm not Zen enough. That's bullshit. Who is anyone to say that my spirituality shouldn't be defined by me? And yours should be defined by you. And it should not be how we do all of our lives, which is, I will lay down here, God, free for you to walk down me. How can you have impact if you're a doormat? To anyone. How
So
can anyone
true.
want you to be a doormat if you were born to have impact?
So true. Here's the other piece that you'll find interesting. I got frozen shoulder because I fell on my arm, and you know how it goes into protection mode. And and the doctor said it was going to take 5 years to heal. And I was like, oh no.
Oh,
Oh hell no. It took me 5 months, not
yeah.
5 years. And I have most of my mobility back, and they said I wouldn't. And so yeah, I am unstoppable.
You are.
You and I are like very unstoppable women. Don't tell me it's going to be 5 years. But 5 months was a long time. And I was getting some work done by this healer. He was an osteopath, and he was amazing, actually. And he said that a lot of the yoga community do yoga and become obsessed with yoga because they're constantly trying to push the energy away instead of, spiritually bypassing it, instead of coming face to face with it. And I just started crying on his table because I realized he was speaking about me.
Yeah.
And I had a very traumatic upbringing. And I have been into yoga since I was 17. And since I discovered it, 17 years old, I've been doing so much yoga. And then I became a yoga teacher, and he was right. And I thought, I'm just going to stop doing yoga and see what happens. And so now I am sitting in the grief, the pain, the loss, the childhood trauma that was unresolved. And I'm at university studying psychology, going to get my master's degree in psychology. So I also have the academic understanding of what is happening. And so it's not that I'm playing a game with myself, but I think I wanted to embody and feel, because they say you can't heal what you don't feel. So I feel it all now. It's very present, but now I'm at this place where, okay, don't want to stay here. And then trying to figure out the pathway forward to not spiritually bypassing it, but really, truly transforming it.
Yeah.
And so what you're talking about aligns with me 100%. Yeah.
Good. Yeah, because I feel like you could get rid of quite a lot of this. The lovely thing about energy that we don't need is it's very easy to get rid of. We can get rid of it. We just need intention to get rid of anything we don't need. And sometimes I always laugh because I'm like, I'm a coach. I don't do therapy, I do coaching. And my coaching, I'm like, I don't care why you feel like that. Let's dump that shit,
I guess
So
that is the difference, isn't it?
it really is. Because therapy's like, why do you feel? I'm like, I do not care. Out, let's kick it. Does it serve you? No. Is it helping you? No. Do you feel good? No. Out with it. Let's remove it.
I love that. Oh, thank you. This has been so
Oh, thank you for
helpful.
having me. What a great conversation.
Oh, wonderful. Yeah, really good. I knew I was going to enjoy this conversation with you.
Yeah, I knew I'd enjoy it with you as well. We came from the right audience.
Yeah. And so, can you tell me a little bit more about what you do and how you help women?
Um, Ultimately, you see what I do. I help women understand who they are, where they're coming from, and that helps them to change um, who they're going to be and how they're going to be there. I give them the confidence and the courage to step forward into a different version of themselves. A lot of it is by being very direct, but we were laughing about that yesterday because I have a group coaching as well as my kind of one-to-one. And in my group coaching, I was laughing. I was like, my best friend came to stay and she said, I'm really mean to you guys. And they all cried with laughter. They're like, oh, no, it's not so much mean as being direct. But the joy of that is that you save so much time, because when you can get to the core of what a problem is, you can shift that thing. And I always think, I don't, in today's day and age, and the way our energy works and spirituality works, we don't have to sit in this stuff anymore. If it comes in, it can go to. In the old days, it would take a generation of darkness, and then it took 10 years of darkness. And I remember when I first started in spirituality and learning it, and they would be like, oh my God, we're going to like take half an hour to reconnect before we can download. And I'm like, can we just do it faster? I was like, can we do it faster? That was always my thing. And so what happens now is I help women to rewire how they see themselves, rewire how they live, rewire how they think. It's for me always around the confidence, the power, the boundaries. I want you to be the strongest, most powerful version of yourself. And I'm like, how fast can I get you there? Is kind of what I think. So that's what I do personally with women. And if you're in a workplace, I'll help your workplace do that too, so you don't have to do it.
I love that. I love that so much, Geeta. And what really just landed for me is with the frozen shoulder and the doctor saying it's going to take 5 years. It took me
Yeah,
5 months.
right.
So that's my answer, is why do I have to hang on to this stuff? I don't, because it's not
You
what I
don't.
want. It's not
No,
serving me. It's not serving anyone else. So it's time to just get it done.
dump it. We're just used to being, women are used to staying in a lot of pain and misery and suffering. We're used to it. We carry a lot of it. And actually, what we do is we then turn it onto our bodies. And the love and the hate of our bodies is how we carry and manage all the suffering. You know what? Don't suffer. Honestly, try really hard not to. There is a different world out there that is full of beautiful toy boys and great martinis that we should all head towards.
I love you. And is there any last and final words of wisdom before we go?
Every day, look at yourself in the mirror and say, I'm a very powerful woman. And I really like that about myself.
Yes, that's what you were saying when I heard you speaking. You were saying, I love my power. And the way that you said it was just so empowering and embodied. You are a goddess of embodying your power. So thank you so much for radiating that and being a powerful woman and
Thank you.
loving your power.
Yes, I do.
Mm.
I do. But you know, I have to say that the more powerful you become, there's a level of humbleness in me that didn't exist as much when I was younger. I wasn't more arrogant, but I was more abrasive, you know? And the more powerful, the calmer, the happier you kind of, you know, and you kind of become calmer with more peaceful with it because it's more integrated. And there's a real joy in that.
Yeah, there's a, instead of the power going outward, it's grounded.
Yeah. And it goes inward, which is so much more fun.
Yeah. Oh, thank you so much.
Thank you
So
for
much
having me,
love.
and to you.
Oh, and you talked about a free gift.
I have a masterclass where I have a conversation about finding your inner power, where it is, how to find it, how to access it, and how to become more powerful. So that's super helpful to just watch. It will completely change how you see yourself. It will literally help you to rewire how you see yourself. And it's you can just have it playing in the background when you're doing whatever you're doing, but it's just a completely different approach to stepping into your feminine power, female power, your divinity, your goddess, you know? So there's that. And then also WCOM is another amazing gift. It's literally, I want that to just become a global platform of every woman that we can possibly find. So the goal is that it just stays at $1 a month. So that as many women as possible can join it. And the money is not a barrier. We just have enough money to be able to do the back end and stuff like that.
Great. Thank you
And it
so
has all the
much.
body stuff in it, right? All the body stuff that I have learned over the last 15 to 17 years is all there and being uploaded. And we have more every month.
Oh, well, I'll be signing up for sure. I'll be your first customer.
Hooray. Thank you. Well,
Yeah,
because we got sidetracked with the UN. So, you know, now we're like back being focused on it. So, yeah.
great. Well, thank you for doing all of your incredible work on the planet and bringing your empowerment to the world. And thank you for your time and your energy and so many
No, thank
blessings
you
to you.
for doing this. I'm so grateful.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.